Hi, it's Angela here, one of the design team members for Tonic Studios. I just wanted to share a quick tutorial with you on how I made the frame plant holder. It's like an easel made out of the 3 frames, and I've done some of it already, so I just wanted to show you how I put it together. So I'm using the tailored frames, and I'm using the widest frame, and it's got all the measurements on it so that they can be cut to whatever size you want to. And it's also got an embossing die which will put the pattern into your cardstock. I've already cut 3 of the pieces out for a frame, so I'm just going to cut the next one now and show you how I put it all together. So the size I want to make is 16 centimeters. So if I was making a bigger frame, you can fit 2 of the frame sizes onto an A4 piece of card, but because I only want a 16 centimeters, I'm going to just do it on the side here, and I can still fit my 2 on, but then I've got an extra piece left over which I can use to make the base joiners and the spine at the top to hold them all together. So I'm just going to trim that to size and run that through my machine to cut it out. So when you've cut it out, I'm not sure how well you'll see it on black card, it's embossed all the measurements into this end panel, so I can just trim it then to size, whatever size of frame I want to make. Just grab my trimmer. So you've got the measurements in inches and in centimeters. So I'm just going to trim mine down to 16 centimeters. And I'm lining it up with the edge of my guillotine and just trimming it off. What I prefer to do is, it also gives you, when you cut it out, it also gives you the score lines. So I want to score these now, because when you put the pattern detail into the other panels, it just makes it easier to fold after you've done that, because you've already trained the card which direction you want it to go. So I'm just going to score these first, just because I find it makes it easier to score after it's been embossed. Because this is an easel frame and you can see both sides of the frame, I want to emboss all the sides. If I was just making just a normal photo frame, I'd only emboss on the centre panel. Because you're going to see all around it, I want to emboss it all. But on this measurement side, the measurements will be covered up by that panel, so I only need to emboss the top part here. So I'm just going to run this through my machine, and I only need this bit embossed. So if I do it that way, I don't want my die hanging off my plate, as it could end up damaging it, so I'd rather have my card hanging over the edge. So I'm just putting my die just to emboss this top bit on the measurement side, and I don't have to run it all the way through my machine. so I can just run it through. Being as it's only a small piece, I'm just going to run it through and run it back. Oops. And then I want to emboss these 2 full panels then, so I'm just going to run that back through my machine. And again then on my centre panel, I'm just lining it up with the score lines, sticking it down to hold it in place, and then just running it through. There's a few different ways of putting this together, so it's just trial and error, to see which way you find most comfortable doing it. Jodie was adding a red liner tape. She was lining this line up and then starting from here and putting the red liner tape. I did do one the first couple I done, I did try doing it like that, but then I was forgetting and ending up putting my tape from this end. But then when I was wrapping it round, I had the excess glue there, so instead of doing it that way, then I decided, because I kept on forgetting, to turn it over, so I was just putting it on the short end, so then I wouldn't have any excess hanging over the edges. So I'm just going to add my double-sided tape on there, on that side. I would use red liner tape because it's far stronger, but because this is an easy tear tape and saves me having to cut every piece with the scissors, I'm just using this now for speed. So I'm just putting double-sided there and then flipping it over and putting it on the little glue tab to hold it all together. And then I'm just going to reinforce my score lines again. What Jodie was also doing was using the die as a guide, so she could line that up with the score line so she'd have a straight edge. Because of the embossing, the card wanted to fold into one of the embossing lines that were on here, so she was using this as a guide then to score it on the lines. Because I scored it before I run it through to emboss, the lines just seem to be easier to fold, so I found it easier that way. What Jodie also did then, she was sticking this into tubes and then adding each one together. But the way, again, like I say, we all do it differently. The way I preferred to do it was just by adding all my tabs together first. So I've already pre-cut the others, so I was just lining it up and adding them all, adding the 4 together. Oops. I don't know how far this will go off shot now because it's long, so lucky I'm not doing a really big frame. So it's still all joined together, but then I turn it over, and this is just my preference, this is the way I found it easier to do. So then that's all I was doing then, is taking my tape off. Because this is only an easy tear tape and not as strong as the double-sided, I'm going to add some wet glue on as well to make sure that it does stick. but this is the way I prefer to do it. I would just fold in that top layer down, and then I can just fold that over, and it's gluing down exactly the same. It's just that I preferred to do it this way as I found it easier. The hardest bit is just getting the tape off. So again, I'm adding wet glue, folding the top panel down, and then that just falls into place on the top. So it ends up the same as Jodie done it. I'm just moving that so that they back into the tube shape. And then that's all you need to do, because the angles have been cut so that when this panel slides underneath, it'll stop at the end bar here. So that just gives you the perfect angle. So then it's just simply, take my end tab off as well now, because it'll be easier to take off now. And then you can either, this is the back panel here, so I just put in my adhesive on the back panel. So you could either, on the corner of the next panel, you can either just add a little glue in there, because then when you slide it in, it's going to glue these two parts together on the top and these two at the back, and that, you know, it goes straight, and then you can see that that's all in line then. So you can either join it that way, or again just add it to the back panel, slide it in, and then you don't want to put too much glue if you do it the way I done it the first time, because it could ooze out the top. So another way of doing it is, let me just add this last panel. So I'm just going to add my glue on the last bit, put 1 or 2 dots on there to make sure, and then this end one will slot in, and this top flap goes into this panel which holds all the frame together. So I'm just sliding that in, making sure it's all stuck down, and then that's your panel made. So because I didn't add my glue on the others, I just take a scrap piece of card, and just add a little glue there, and then I can slide it underneath to put the glue on this way, and then you don't have so much excess glue squirting out the top. So I'm just doing that and gluing it all together. So you'll need 3 of these, but like I say, I've already pre-prepared 2. So that's all I need to do now is decide which way I want to do it. If I was doing it out of craft card to make it look like a chunky panel, where they cross over in the back, you've got squares here, so it looks as if it would be like a chunky panels of wood added together, and you could put like a big brad, a nice black brad here to hold it all together. But for this one I want to have the mitered corners. So that's all I've done then is I've cut my base to 16 centimetres square, which I'll add on at the end. And I've measured the tops because I want these two to be hinged at the top. So I've measured my top spine, my top hinge to be 16 centimetres long by 2.2 centimetres wide, and I've just scored it down the centre, so that's going to hold the two together. And then I've just measured the inside bit of my frame, so oops, that way, so that that can fit in and glue to the inner part of the frame there, and then this bit then is going to hold it together, so you're just making a bracket and that'll line up on the back panel of the frame. Move these out the way a sec. So that's all I'm going to do first, is stick this into the bottom. And again, I'm going to use wet glue as well. So I'm just going to line this up on the inside and glue it in place. And I'm going to take my frame and I'm lining my sides up with the sides of my base frame. And then just gluing that in place. Just hold it for a couple of seconds to make sure that it has stuck. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. Again, sticking that piece onto the inside of the bottom. And then lining it up with my base again so that these sides match. And then gluing that onto the back, holding it again for a few seconds to make sure that the glue was stuck together. And then it's just adding the hinge on the top. So then I'm just lining that up with the top of the frame. And then just lining up the back panel of it as well. Oops, making sure it goes all the way to the edge. And then if you've got a die or little metal hinges, you could add them on there for decoration as well, but I just liked it just plain. So hold that in place, and then that's all you have to do then is add your base onto the bottom. You can use multiple layers to make it thicker and sturdier. So I like to add wet glue on the base again so I can wiggle it into position. just add in my glue, lining up my base as straight as possible, and just hold that in place for a second to make sure it's all stuck. Oh, and I haven't put my hot glue gun on then, but I did use a hot glue gun to glue everything in place in the base. These little plants I managed to get in Asda's for £1, but when I went to get more, they only had 3 left, so I just bought the 3. But they were £1 in Asda's, and this one I had in Home Bargains, and I think it was £1.29 or £1.39, so it's a nice cheap little project to make as well. So what I did then, I just added my hot glue to the base and glued that into the bottom, and then, well, at the time we couldn't go out to the shops and stuff like that to buy more, to buy the decorative stones, so I had to compromise. So I had some potpourri in there, I had chestnuts, normal nuts, 1 or 2 stones, and that's all I did. Whoops, that's all I did then. I put hot glue in the bottom, and then I was just adding bits in to give a stony effect. Whoops, they're rolling away everywhere. But you can buy decorative stones in different colours, so it's just you add whatever colours you want to, and then I just put them in there, and then that's how easy it is to make. But I did really like it, so that's why I wanted to make one in black so I can put on my windowsill in my kitchen. And hope this tutorial will be of some help to you, and hopefully you're starting to have your dies delivered now, and once you start playing with them you won't want to put them down. I didn't want to, because they can be used in so many different ways to make so many different projects. So I hope you just have fun when your dies arrive, and show us all your makes and what projects you've come up with, as we all love to share all different ways that the dies can be used. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope it is of some help to you. Thank you. Bye.